And you may begin whenever you're ready, Senator Lowenthal.
I am ready. I'd like to waive presentation on the first item, which is, I think, SB 996.
That's right, property tax.
We're going to waive. And I'd like to move present on SB 1396, which is the Educational Funding Pilot Program.
We will take up 996 when we take up all the other items for which a presentation has been waived. So we can get right into SB 1396, Senator Lowenthal, on education funding on a pilot program.
Thank you, Madam Chair. SB 13 and members. SB 1396 is a candidate for suspense. Last year, in the legislature's mid-year cuts and the 2009 Budget Act, it granted categorical flexibility for nearly all of the Tier 3 programs to school districts in an effort to help them mitigate education cuts. We did not, however, require at that time that school districts to report back on how they spent the money or on the impact. With another estimated $18 to $20 billion budget deficit this year, it's necessary to continue the movement towards flexibility by providing
Excuse me, Senator Lowenthal, beg your pardon. To Senator Correa's staff, I see you have witnesses here, so I'll go ahead and allow staff to present the one item for military service. I assume that's why your witnesses are here. So if you're able to do that after Senator Lowenthal, we'll take it up then. Thank you. Excuse the interruption, Senator.
That's all right for the military. I will do that. It's necessary to continue this movement and to understand just how it works. And this bill, SB 1396, provides 3 school districts that are already on track to achieve high student performance to have full categorical flexibility for 3 years while holding them accountable for high student achievement. What the bill does is create the 3-year maximum categorical flexibility pilot program from 2011 to 2014, which holds school districts accountable. In addition, participating school districts are required to have a majority of parents and teachers in support of this program, develop a plan and spend the funds with public input in a regular, and all plans have to be approved in a regular public hearing. And the program, this SB 1396, still continues to protect funds for English language learners and the economically disadvantaged. With me today is Superintendent of Long Beach Unified School District, Mr. Chris Steinhauser, the sponsor of the bill, to testify in support.
Thank you, Senator Lowenthal. We'll go to your witnesses. Go right ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee, for allowing me to speak today. First of all, we're very thankful for the flexibility we've been given as a school system. With that flexibility, we've been able to continue our path of excellence in closing the achievement gap and saving hundreds of jobs. We feel strongly that we can accelerate the achievement gap closure for our kids if this bill is passed. I'll give you one example. In Long Beach Unified, 40% of our kids attend school of choice, which means they go to schools outside their own school and they provide their own transportation. But all the money doesn't follow them. For one example, for state comp ed, you have to have at least 25% of your students on free or reduced lunch to qualify for that program. But these resources can't follow them if they don't have that threshold. We feel strongly. We have a target of 80% of our kids going on to college. Right now, 72% are, and we feel strongly that if this bill is passed, it will help us have the tools necessary to further our issues.
Very good. Next witness, please.
Nancy Lacoste, and I'm representing Clovis Unified School District, and they're hoping that they'll be one of the districts that will be able to apply to be part of this pilot. Thank you.
Thank you.
Terry Anderson. I'm representing Poway Unified School District in support, Corona Norco Unified School District in support, and Torrance Unified School District in support, and they're all hoping they'll be chosen as well.
Thank you very much. Any other witnesses in favor? Witnesses?
Deborah Harmon on behalf of Fresno Unified School District. Fresno is similarly wanting to apply to participate in this program. They're doing a lot of very creative things with data to help their students succeed.
Very good.
Dennis Myers with the California Association of School Business Officials in support of the bill.
Very good. Other witnesses in favor? Other witnesses in favor? Is there opposition? Yes. Come right up.
Good.
While you're being seated, we'll take a roll call, please. We have a quorum.
Kehoe?
Here.
Kehoe here. Cox? Cox here. Alquist? Here. Alquist here. Corbett? Denham? Leno? Leno here. Price. Walters. Wolk. Wolk here. Wyland. Wyland here. Yee. Yee. Okay. We have a quorum.
We have a quorum, members. Very good. So testimony in opposed to SB 1396. Go right ahead.
Yes, good morning, Madam Chair and members. My name is Liz Guillen. I'm with Public Advocates. Our position is oppose unless amended. Seeing the great number of districts that are very interested in this opportunity, it's more important than ever that this be done correctly, especially if it's going to be a pilot. And our concern is that with the categorical funds that are being lumped together and then allowed to be flexible, that there will no longer be an emphasis, a specific emphasis on students with the greatest needs. Despite the great work that Long Beach has done already, we know that many other districts who don't have the same capacity or even the same record will want to do this. And so that is why we are very concerned that there be a commitment to weighting the funds towards students with disabilities, English learners, and low-income students, and that be done up front. Secondly, our major concern is that the transparency be real. We know that with the current flexibility right now, with the way the department has issued these funds and the way the districts are using them, there's no ability to track these dollars. And as a result, we don't believe that this pilot can go on in the same way for it to be useful. Thank you.
Very good. Next, please.
Estelle Lemieux with the California Teachers Association. We oppose this measure, and I'll talk about this measure not on a policy basis, but rather appropriations. There is a cost to the evaluation here of this pilot program, and currently, if you want total flexibility in your schools, you can convert to a charter district because they have that funding available to them. They have a block grant. They're given money in the block grant to do whatever program they choose in their district. And so why do we need a pilot project with our regular schools when you, the legislature, just a year and a half ago voted to do Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3? And at that time, that was very difficult, but you protected certain programs, 18 of them, for a very good reason. And so we're asking you that you look at this very carefully, because while the cost to do an evaluation is minimal, if you currently can do this by converting to a charter district, why do we need a pilot project to see if it works? We need to save every penny, is what we're being told by the Department of Finance, because we are running such a huge deficit. We can start right here. We urge you to oppose this measure. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further testimony? Senator Cox?
As a representative of the California Teachers Association, do I discern from your comments that then the California Teachers Association is encouraging all districts to move in the direction of a charter school?
No.
I didn't think that.
Not encouraging them, but telling them there's that option.
Okay.
All right.
And you wouldn't have any objection if that occurred?
No.
Anything further? This is a candidate for suspense. If there's no further comment, without objection, SB 1396 will go to suspense. Thank you, Senator Lowenthal.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members.
All righty. Now, beg your pardon, sir. Who?
I know SB 996 was waived.
Yeah, we're going to take that up when we take up all the items on which presentation has been waived.
Okay, so we don't testify on that today?
Yes, it will be today, but it's going to be later.
Later. Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Correa's staff, are you here? You're going to take up SB 1075, and we'll hear your witnesses. Go right ahead, introduce yourself. Brief presentation, please.
Madam Chair, good morning. Good morning, members. Thank you very much for the opportunity to present SB 1075. My name is Lina Hamilton. I'm legislative aide for Senator Lou Correa. California has enacted many protections for California men and women serving in the active, reserve, and National Guard military components. Unfortunately, it appears that some California higher education institutions have varying policies concerning academic leaves absence for these students ordered in military service. SB 1075 will make enhancing and clarifying changes to the California Military Families Financial Relief Act of 2005. This measure will improve the existing protection for California National Guard members and reservists who are ordered into emergency state active duty and must report to their unit station within hours of being notified. We have
Very good. Let's go to your witnesses, gentlemen.
My name is Colonel John Crocker. I'm the Director of Governmental and Public Affairs for the Military Department. We want to clarify this is an important piece of legislation for us simply in general protection of our soldiers and airmen. Essentially, we're simply asking for reasonable accommodations when people are called to emergency state active duty. That's usually fairly quick. That would be fires, et cetera, et cetera. We see no significant fiscal impact on the schools. We simply want to assure that there's some standardization so that our soldiers and airmen can be accommodated and ensure that they reach their goals academically. If you have any further questions of me, I'm certainly would like to answer them.
Thank you. And next, please. Senator Wilk moves the bill. You, sir?
No, ma'am. I just reiterate what Colonel Crocker is.
Keeping an eye on him? All righty.
Yes.
This bill allows military service members to have one additional option in resuming their studies. It's a due pass. Senator Lowenthal Senator Woke makes the motion. Right. You're both the same height. Is there opposition to the bill? Opposition? Seeing none, then on the motion by Senator Woke, we'll call the roll.
Kehoe?
Aye.
Kehoe, aye. Cox? Aye. Cox, aye. Alquist?
Aye.
Alquist, aye. Corbett? Denham? Leno? Aye. Leno, aye. Price? Walters? Wolk?
Aye.
Wolk, aye. Wyland? Aye. Wyland, aye. Yee? Aye. Yee, aye. 7 is out.
7-0, that bill is out.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Thank you. Senator Ducheney, you have two items, SB 930 and SB 1287. We need authors in Senate Appropriations. We will go to members of the committee if no authors show up. Senator Flores, Senator Hoff, Senator Luz, Senator...
Lou is behind me in the
Senator
elevator.
Leno. Okay, we need a few, but we're moving right along. Senator Ducheney, it's all yours.
Thank you very much. Madam Chair and members, we'll start with SB 930, go in file order. This bill is intended to establish an accountability system to provide accurate information regarding the academic performance of English language learning students in California schools. We have had this ongoing problem for many years that we are not getting reliable data, and we are not appreciating how much students actually know when they're tested. They are tested in a language they don't understand, does not tell you whether they understand the math or not. We appreciate the committee's comments, and we look forward to working with the committee to minimize costs. We think there are some issues with some of the numbers the department is giving, and that there is room for these to be much less. We think this is a critical bill from a policy perspective if we're moving forward into new testing as proposed, that we accommodate English language learners this time, that we take advantage of the federal law which says up to 3 years, as many, many other states have already done, to offer. We already have a standardized test in Spanish, so our plea is to offer it up to 3 years after students first come to this into the program, that we get to count their scores and not have people just taking a test and not being able to prove that they really should be out of program improvement. We think there is an opportunity. Appreciate the staff noticing there may be some federal funds available to do this.
Right, and this is allowable under federal law, correct, Senator?
Right.
My only question is, I think it's gone to the governor in some form or another several earlier times.
This is pretty narrow. Last chance, last try. It's a narrower program. I think with the race to the top, it is if you're going to change the standards again in 3 or 4 years, you need to incorporate this. We have proposed that in here. That doesn't have a huge additional cost, and we think some of these cost numbers the department is giving you are high. We think the number of pupils they're counting and some of those other things may be high in addition.
Do you want to go to your witnesses then?
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Martha Zaragoza Diaz, and I'm representing the Californians Together Coalition that is the sponsor of this bill. And I don't want to speak to the policy issue that the Senator already mentioned. It is a very important policy issue. We do need to have a viable assessment system for English learners, especially in this high-stakes era, and especially with the regards of the emphasis on teacher performance and teacher evaluation. We want to make sure that there are valid and accurate measurements on student performance that will accurately reflect the teacher performance. With regards to the cost issues, we believe that the 80,000 number that was identified in terms of the number of English learners that would be impacted by this test is high. We took a look at the 2009 data with regards to the number of English learners that took this test here less than 12 months, and it was 15,000, so approximately 16,000. So we believe the 80,000 number is very high, but we're going to continue to work with your staff and with CDE staff to address the cost issues based on those numbers. Thank you.
Next, please.
Sherry Griffith with the Association of California School Administrators, and we are in support.
All righty. Any additional testimony in favor of SB 930? Is there opposition testimony to SB 930? Opposition?
I move the bill.
Thank you, but members, this is going to suspense. We appreciate your enthusiasm. So does Senator
No, we
Cheney. Appreciate
your co-authorship also, Senator Alquist.
All righty. Senator Weiland has a comment or question. Senator Weiland?
Okay. Thank you, Senator Ducheney, for your work on this. As a lot of people know, English language learners is something that is very important to me, and I think is crucial to the future of our state in solving this problem. And we have not spent anywhere nearly the time we need on it. Here's my question. I can understand someone not in a primary grade, maybe they're even as young as 10 years old, coming to this country. Not just, we think typically of Spanish speakers, but from any country, right, and having learned a certain amount in that native language. And I can understand the premise that if you test that person, that student, in that language, that gives a more accurate reflection of, in terms of accountability, than a test in English where they don't do well, but they actually know the material.
Right.
What the part that I don't understand is, since then it's incumbent upon them, well, it's incumbent upon us, and we're not doing a good enough job, to get them to move into English, why you would make it later than the 12 months, assuming that after they take that test, they are then immersed in English. That's the only part I don't
Well, they
understand.
are the whole time, Senator, and the CELT test does measure their progress in English now. We have gotten better about the accountability of teaching English to English language learners, but almost any study in this area will show that it takes 3 or 4 years for most folks to become fluent enough to really take decent tests in a foreign language. And so the 12 months really isn't a fair reflection. If it's your first year speaking or learning in a foreign language, by the end of that year, you're not going to be able to test in that language in a very accurate way. So if you are literate in your home language, which is one of our requirements, then that goes to your young folks. But if you're literate in your home language, then why wouldn't you find out if your math skills are actually pretty good? It's just your English skills that are lacking.
So say you take that test in the first 12 months and you find out you can do algebra.
Right.
But then you are immersed. You wouldn't continue. You don't propose continue to teach in that native language.
The teaching is whatever it is today. Some students are in dual immersion programs. Some students are in English immersion programs. Some students are in bilingual programs. The point is, if whatever program you're in or wherever you are, and again, we're measuring separately through the CELT test your English language development. So every year, and by about the 3rd or 4th year, most students move out of CELT into full English, even if they weren't.
Well, the only comment I would make is that the current law states that English immersion is the law.
Well, no, not quite.
That's current law, unless the parent signs a waiver the history of this is that in districts have done whatever they wanted because it hasn't been enforced, or teachers have encouraged parents to sign the waiver. My own experience when I was in a district which was, and in this case it was Spanish speakers, was that maybe in an ideal world the bilingual would work, but in that world it wasn't. So by 8th grade, you'd have teachers at one of our schools, a middle school, where in the same class there'd be a range of reading ability from, say, 3rd grade, say an 8th grade class, to 10th grade. And so the only comment I would make is, as we solve this, we have to take that into account, and that we're genuinely moving these students, and I don't think we're doing that. And the final comment,
but that is the CELT test. That is what the CELT test.
And I know we got a lot to do, but this is a big deal. One final thing. I know this will be the only time I'll talk. I promise. Final comment. Dual immersion is typically used
on the bill, Mr.
by middle class English-speaking parents for their kids to learn Spanish.
Little editorializing.
Right. That's true.
The bill is, without objection, goes to suspense.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Senator Duchesne, you taking up SB 1287?
Yes, please.
Sorry, I just am mindful of the time this morning. So.
Yes, getting to.
This is earthquake relief and housing. Senator Duchesne, why don't you, and it is also headed to suspense.
Yes, thank you very much, Madam Chair. Just a couple of comments, and we look forward to working with your staff on suspense. We introduced this bill a couple of weeks ago in an effort to address one issue that will not be addressed by FEMA and some of the other monies, which is individual homeowners. The 7.2 earthquake in Mexicali had enormous impacts in Imperial Valley on public facilities, water and such. And FEMA will be providing, albeit far into the future, monies that people are starting to count on. But one of the problems, bigger problems we have there, were many homes in trailer parks, basically manufactured housing, which have been suffered dramatically. And not only from the 7.2 earthquake, but in fact we've had at least 200 aftershocks, many of those in the 4 and 5% range. Many of these are lower income families living in trailer type housing, mobile home housing, and the FEMA monies will not cover those personal ones. Now, since that time, HCD, and I appreciate the analysis points out, HCD and the counties are moving to move block grants. But the truth is, most of that will be loan money. And what I'm looking for, Madam Chair, here, and we can work on numbers, and we want to talk to HCD, how we might combine a grant program to allow people to get your mobile home back up on the slab and be done. Some grant program perhaps for down payment relief if you have to buy a new one, for some of these families to be able to not just have loans, but to actually have some funding that allows them to get back in the market. We believe we've more or less eliminated the homeless shelter program at this point, but there ought to be an opportunity for some of these, particularly these lower income families, a lot of farm worker families and such, who need additional assistance.
Is there going to be emergency relief down there for?
There will be FEMA relief, but not for families, and it tends to be for public infrastructure.
All right,
and so
we'll definitely take a look at that, Senator Duchesne.
Taking a look at. Thank you very much.
Let me call for public testimony in favor of SB 1287. Is there testimony in favor? Is there opposition testimony? Seeing none, without objection, the item moves to suspense.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Duchesne. And I see Senator Liu has 4 items, one of which you've waived presentation on. Is that correct, Senator Liu? Do you want to take them up in file order?
Yes.
SB 1084, the Economic Security Task Force.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Senator, I'm going to argue that this goes to suspense. I think I gave you a heads up on that. But go right ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. The federal poverty guidelines is an income of $10,830 a year for an individual and $22,050 a year for a family of 4. Using that guideline, California's poverty rate is 12.8%. But we all know that even at twice these incomes, people and families can barely survive. SB 1084 would establish a task force to tackle poverty in this state and create a pathway for economic self-sufficiency. This bipartisan task force would include members of the legislature, state agency secretaries, public members, and key stakeholders. It would create an inventory of state poverty and economic development programs, analyze current programs to improve effectiveness, serve as a state clearinghouse for information on anti-poverty programs, and set forth a comprehensive plan with policy recommendations to maximize our use of existing dollars to improve economic self-sufficiency among Californians by 50% by 2020. I'm fully aware of the current fiscal constraints of the state, and I've worked with the appropriations consultant to relieve any cost pressures this bill may create. Also, SB 1084 will not require the state to fund the task force or its operations. Rather, the sponsors and supporters of the bill are currently in the process of seeking funding, technical assistance, and other resources for the task force from philanthropic and private donors. This legislation is currently sponsored by the California Welfare Directors Association, the Insight Center for Community and Economic Development, the Western Center on Law and Poverty, and the Women's Foundation of California. And I have witnesses to testify in support of the bill and answer questions.
Go right ahead.
Hi, thank you. My name is Hannah Hill, and I'm a program associate at the Women's Foundation of California, which is a statewide organization that's dedicated to increasing the health, safety, and economic prosperity of all communities in California. We believe that when women thrive, families and communities will thrive. The Women's Foundation is co-sponsoring SB 1084 because we believe that poverty is a threat to the well-being of individual families and also to California's future. Poverty alleviation is a moral issue, and it's also within our state's economic self-interest. Nearly 18% of children in California are currently living in poverty, and that number is just continuing to grow. And 30% of kids under the age of 5 who live with a single mom are also living in poverty. While tragic and immoral on its own, this level of childhood poverty, if unaddressed, will cost all Californians. Academic studies consistently find that children who grow up poor are more likely to be poor as adults. They're also more likely to have poor health later in life and engage in crime. Any crime committed imposes large monetary and other personal costs to victims, as well as the cost to a taxpayer for administering our huge criminal justice system. Poor children are more likely to have lower earnings as adults, which in turn reflects lower workforce productivity. This reduced productivity will generate a direct loss in goods and services to our state economy. And poor health leads to illness, which not only requires large healthcare expenditures, but also impedes productivity and reduces an individual's quality of life.
Very good, very good. Next, please, very briefly.
I'm Tim Reese, Executive Director of the California-Nevada Community Action Partnership State Association. We represent federally funded community services block grant entities that provide services to every community in California through community action agencies. They're the federally designated anti-poverty agencies in California. We are in complete support of this bill. Most critically, we supported this concept with Senator Alarcon in the past, and at that time the network and Calneva contributed resources to help fund that activity, and we had staff, myself included, serve on various committees. We are willing, and we are in fact seeking funding to support this activity because we believe it is very important work to create efficiency and improve outcomes for low-income communities in California. We urge your support of this bill.
Thank you. Next, please.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members. Kathy Sunderling with the County Welfare Directors Association of California. We're also a co-sponsor of the measure and urge your aye vote.
Thank you. Next, please.
Nicole Wertelman on behalf of the City and County of San Francisco, as well as the Alameda County Board of Supervisors in support.
Thank you. Anyone else? Yes.
Mike Carroll with the Western Center on Law and Poverty in support of the measure.
Very good. Any?
Julia Goodman with momsrising.org, and we're in support of the bill.
What was that last group?
momsrising.org.
Moms Rising Network. All right. .org. Thank you. Is there anybody opposed? Any opposition to SB 1084? All righty, seeing none. Senator Lieu, I would just say with the state of the budget and the, I know you have the private funding in here, but in general, when private funding does not come through, pressure does go to the general fund to complete these tasks once they're underway.
As I understand it, we have worked with your staff to get the total dollar amount underneath $50,000 and under $50,000 with private funds. It wouldn't go forward without private funds.
We would appreciate it if we can continue working on that while it's in suspense.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Senator. And now, let's see, you're waiving presentation on SB, then without objection, it'll go to suspense. On 1186, you're waiving presentation, and then on SB 1266, the alternative custody for inmates, Senator Liu, this is a with the intent language amendment, in removing the intent language, then it would no longer be meet the suspense threshold, so we could move it out.
Thank you.
Would you care to make your statement?
Just a brief statement. Madam Chair, committee members, we are pleased to accept the committee's amendments to remove the savings allocation intent language. And this bill authorizes the Secretary of CDCR to assign women, pregnant individuals, and primary caregivers of dependent children to alternative custody arrangements if they are low risk and have never been convicted of a violent or sex crime. And SB 1266 defines alternative custody as confinement to a residential home, drug or treatment program, transitional care facilities, or use of electronic monitoring. In addition, the bill declares the legislature's intent that CDCR will dedicate 50% of any savings produced to provide evidence-based practices to participants placed in alternative custody, such as a drug or mental health treatment, once savings are achieved. And the SB 1266 will lower recidivism rates, encourage community and family involvement, result in fewer children in the child welfare system, and reduce the likelihood of inmates' children embarking on a life of crime. So I ask for your support on this bill.
Very good. And we'll go to your witnesses.
Madam Chair and members of the committee, I'm Stuart Drown. I'm the Executive Director of the Little Hoover Commission. It's an independent bipartisan panel charged with reviewing the performance of executive branch agencies. The Commission supports 1266 based on the numerous studies the Commission has done on the correctional system, and specifically its report on female offenders breaking the barriers for women on parole. In alternative custody and community-based settings, female offenders who are targeted by SB 1266 have a better chance of getting the counseling and substance abuse and relationship issues that in many cases contributed to their incarceration. Research from UCLA shows that in substance abuse treatment, $2.50 spent on treatment saves the state $1 in further incarceration costs.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members. Elizabeth Howard Espinosa on behalf of the California State Association of Counties. We actually don't have a policy position on the bill, but in terms of the fiscal implications, we have been working with Senator Liu's office. We're very interested in the program design and implementation to ensure that there are not costs that come back to the counties. She has expressed her commitment to working with us to ensure that those costs are covered elsewhere in the program by other mechanisms. We're working on language to make sure that that happens, but we think the May 11th amendments go a long way towards articulating that commitment, and we look forward to working with her as the bill moves forward. Thank you.
Very good. Next, please.
Julian DeVos with the Urban Counties Caucus also have similar concerns to CSAC about any cost shift to counties, but we are working with the author and appreciate the bill moving forward to work on implementation. Thank you.
Further testimony in favor? Further testimony in favor of 1266. Is there opposition? Opposition? All righty, come on up. And then this would be a due pass as amended. Mr. Leno, will you make that motion? Yeah.
Madam Chair and members, Corey Salzillo on behalf of the California District Attorneys.
A little bit louder, sir.
Sorry. Corey Salzillo on behalf of the California District Attorneys Association. We're opposed to the bill on policy grounds, and I'd be happy to go into it if you like, but we don't have a fiscal concern.
Thank you. Any additional testimony? Seeing none, unless there's comments from the committee, I'll take the motion from Senator Leno, which is a due pass with amendments on SB 1266. Call the roll, please.
Kehoe? Aye. Kehoe, aye. Cox? No. Cox, no. Alquist? Aye. Alquist, aye. Corbett? Corbett, aye. Denham? No. Denham, no. Leno? Aye. Leno, aye. Price? Walters? No. Walters, no. Wolk? Aye. Wolk, aye. Wyland? No. Wyland, no. Yee? Aye. Yee, aye. 6-4, it's out.
6-4, Senator Liu, that bill is out. And next is SB 1322 on food stamp employment and training program.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. SB 1322 improves access to food stamps for people who are subject to the program's work requirements. It does so by establishing more uniform requirements and allowing more meaningful ways to meet those work requirements, such as volunteering at food banks, churches, fire departments, and other community nonprofits. SB 1322 also seeks to leverage already expended state and third-party dollars to get more federal funds for the Food Stamp Employment and Training Program. This will help more eligible people to get training and support they need to become employed. We believe that any cost associated with the bill would be minor, as counties already track whether individuals are meeting the work requirements of the food stamp program. We believe that verification of volunteer hours would be similar to verification of other work-type activities that counties already do. Additionally, while the bill allows the state to retain more federal funds that would otherwise go to the counties, we believe that using this money to identify more sources of matching funds will eventually result in more federal funds flowing to the counties. Expansion of any educational component associated with the Food Stamp Employment and Training Program would be funded by federal and local dollars. In closing, SB 1322 will help support people during economic hard times and create a stronger food stamp employment and training options that will prepare them to return to the workforce when the economy recovers. And I ask for your support in this bill.
Thank you, Senator Liu. And your witnesses?
Hi, thank you. My name is Jessica Bartholow. I'm with the Western Center on Law and Poverty. The Food Stamp Employment and Training Program is a unique program that has 100% funding coming down from the federal government. So we believe that any minimal costs that would come with the result of this bill could be covered by those additional 100% funds. And in general, it's a bill that's going to make government work better for poor people and for California's economy when things are rough. And we would ask for your aye vote.
Thank you. Any additional testimony in favor? Any opposition? Senator Liu, just the task force does have some cost pressures there. We might look at that while it's on suspense.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Without objection, then, members, we'll put that item in suspense. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Liu. And Senator Cogdill, I see, has arrived. And Senator Cogdill is going to take up SB 1457 on state facilities contracts.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm fine. How are you?
Fine, thanks.
Good. Senate Bill 1457 is a Department of General Services sponsored bill which would authorize the department to use an alternative delivery method known as job order contracting. Job order contracting allows an agency to enter into a single contract that covers various smaller projects for a set period of time. For example, a CSU campus can enter into a contract with a contractor to complete repairs on its classrooms for an entire year. The contract would specify exactly what types of repairs would be covered at predetermined prices. This isn't a new concept. In fact, it's been used for some time by CSU and UC, and this bill basically would allow the same practice to be used by GSA. I have a witness in.
Thank you, Senator Cogdill. Let's go to your witnesses.
Good morning, Chair members. Melanie Perrin, Department of General Services. We are the sponsor of this bill. To back on to what the Senator just said, these contracts would be used for smaller projects, for repair, maintenance, small renovations. DGS would still have a competitive bidding process, public oversight, inspection, and as required under law. State engineers, inspectors, project directors would still be continued to utilize as well. This would save the state money as the admin costs would go down by having a job order contract rather than bidding out each of these projects separately.
Nick Carlson, also with Department of General Services. I'm just here to provide any technical responses.
All righty. Any other testimony in favor? Is there opposition testimony? Opposition? Seeing none, Senator Cox moves the bill with amendments. There's no amendments? Okay, hold on. I had it over here. So what's that standard 1A? Well, isn't this a historic day? There are amendments, as it turns out. The bills will be amended to specify a contract term of 2 years with an option to extend for 1 year.
We're willing to accept those amendments.
Thank you, Senator Cogdill. Mr. Francois is still learning. All righty. Senator Cox, that doesn't happen very often. Senator Cox makes the motion do pass as amended. So we'll call the roll if there's no further comment.
Kehoe?
Aye.
Kehoe, aye. Cox? Aye. Cox, aye. Alquist?
Aye.
Alquist, aye. Corbett? Corbett? No. Denham? Aye. Denham, aye. Leno?
No.
Leno, no. Price. Walters. Aye. Walters, I. Wolk. Aye. Wolk, I. Wyland. Yee. Yee, no. 6-3.
6-3. The bill's out.
Thank you.
Thank you. Senator Wyland wandered away. All righty. I think we'll go to members, please.
You keep me on my toes.
Senator Woke, if you're ready, we can take up. Oh, you waived presentation. Then Senator Leno, if you're able to take up your items, we'll get started there. Then Senator Wyland has an item he hasn't waived presentation on. Senator Hancock, Senator Dutton, Senator Yee, you also have an item. If there's no other authors, we'll go to you after Senator Leno. And you waived, yes. Thank you, Senator Alquist. All righty. Senator Leno has 3 items. 1163, that is on health coverage and denials.
Out of respect for the committee's time, I'm going to waive presentation on 1163
Alrighty.
and 1200.
On both of them?
Yes.
Okay. And so then we'll go on to corrections, incapacitated inmates. Senator Leno, you may begin, and perhaps you should start with the, you're taking amendments that relieve the cost.
That is correct, and that has to do with the costs associated with potential federal waivers. We want to amend that out.
Right. We will not be seeking federal waivers because everyone's promised this are not necessary. All right. Would you care to...
Very briefly then, working with the receiver in an attempt to meet some directives, if not goals, to reduce costs in the Department of Corrections, and they are related to health care costs. The receiver, as I pointed out, that there are upwards of 32 inmates in our system that just they alone are costing us $42 million in health care costs. Many of them are actually in facilities outside of the prison system with 2 armed guards standing beside their bed 24/7, extraordinarily expensive health care costs. So he has also identified upwards of...
Senator Leonard, did you say the cost per patient, or can you give us a rough idea?
Well, those 32, $42 million, each $1.2 million approximately for them. But there are over 1,000 who are costing us well over $100,000 a year each. So the idea is to create medical parole different from compassionate release. It is parole with conditions of parole, most likely electronic monitoring. Once these individuals are identified, number one, to be physically or medically incapacitated, and as a result of their incapacitation, they are of no risk to public safety. They could then be released, put on medical parole, and we would then have significant savings. And we are working with the Hospital Association as well as the counties to ensure that any costs they might have as a result, we do not want cost shifting, that the state would share our savings with them so that there's no cost placed on them.
Joyce Hayhoe, Legislative Consultant for the Receiver's Office. The cost savings comes from being able to draw down federal, Medicare, and Medi-Cal dollars for those inmates because once an inmate is deemed to be on parole, they're eligible.
Vanessa Nelson, Life Support Alliance. We are family and friends of term-to-life prisoners. These prisoners represent no danger to public safety. Their only danger is to public coffers if we continue to insist on these unnecessary security precautions. We are mindful of the fact that protecting the public includes protecting public assets from unnecessary depletion, and we believe this bill accomplishes those goals. We urge your passage.
Thank you. Next, please.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members. Elizabeth Howard Espinosa, again, on behalf of the California State Association of Counties. We very much appreciate the work that Mr. Leno and his staff have done in working towards assuring that this does not result in a cost shift. They have been extraordinarily gracious in their meetings. We think the language may require a little bit more work just to assure the complex interactions among and between public agencies is accurately codified, but we are confident that we can do that in the bill. We do not have a policy position. We just wanted to publicly thank Senator Leonard for the work he's done. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please.
Jillian Vorse with the Urban Counties Caucus concur with CSAC's comments. We continue to work with the Senator. We appreciate that no cost shift is the intent of the author. Thank you.
All right. Next, please.
Barbara Glazer with the California Hospital Association. We do have an opposed unless amended position on the bill, but the amendments that were taken last week certainly go in the right direction for us, and we continue to work with the staff, and we feel like we can get to a neutral on this bill. and appreciate the work of the author and his staff.
Thank you. Any further testimony either for or against the bill? Any further testimony? Any comments from a committee? I have a motion by Senator Woke, and this is with amendments. Senator Yee.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Senator Leno, I think you and I have a conversation about that, but let me just kind of understand this bill. Basically, we have individuals that are under the jurisdiction of the prison, and they are incapacitated because of whatever disabilities that they have. What is being proposed now is that we will move these individuals, from a lock facility into a county facility or someplace else on a medical parole, right? Now, are these individuals going to then be taking one of our mental health beds within the county, or?
No, it's a very good question. In fact, most of these individuals are already in county settings, but with armed guards by their bedsides, unable to draw down federal dollars because they're not on parole. Okay. So we want to put them on parole. We want to save the security costs and then be able to access the federal dollars. So in most cases, they're already in beds in local communities.
Okay. Thank you.
And then Senator Leno, these are physically incapacitated prisoners.
Many of them are comatose.
Right, but they're not mentally ill.
No, they might have advanced stages of Alzheimer's, and as a result are of no risk to public safety. If they have a mental condition that makes them dangerous, they're not going to get this kind of parole. And I also need to point out that anyone sentenced to death or to life are exempted from this program. And 36 other states are already doing this. In fact, Texas is leading the way because they're saving costs in their prison system that we're not. This is a saving to taxpayers.
Thank you, Senator Leno. We have a motion by Senator Woke, do pass with amendments. Without further comment, then we'll call the roll.
Kehoe?
Aye.
Kehoe, aye. Cox? Aye. Cox, aye. Allquest? Allquest, aye. Corbett? Corbett, aye. Denham? No. Denham, no. Leno?
Aye.
Leno, aye. Price? Walters? Wolk? Aye. Wolk, aye. Wyland? Yee? Yee, aye.
Senator Wyland, did you vote no or not at all? I'm sorry.
No, I'm not.
Okay, very good. All righty.
Thanks, 7-1. So.
That's 7-1. Senator Leno, that bill is out. Senator Onnested, you can present your bill. And then we'll go to Senator Dutton. Senator Wyland, you have an item when you're ready, unless you're waiving presentation. So, very good. Thank you. Senator Onnested, go right ahead. You are, taking up item SB 1130, Prison Industry Authority. This is a due pass, members. Go right ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members. I've introduced SB 1130, which will help promote fairness in state purchasing and providing assistance to small businesses and save the state money by allowing more flexibility in awarding contracts. The bill would provide that the Department of Corrections and Rehabilitation may enter into contracts with private businesses or other public agencies, provided it is at a lower price than the price available from the Prison Industry Authority. The bill has changed since it left GO, and I believe it reflects the understanding of your consultant and the GO consultant regarding the language of the bill now. I want to stress one thing that was brought up in GO by the prison industry folks. We have looked into the matter, and according to your consultant, the bill will not impact good time credits for any inmate or affect their sentences one way or the other, which was a concern in GO. I would request your aye vote, and we have witnesses in support.
Very good. Witnesses?
Madam Chair and members, Paul Smith with the Regional Council of Rural Counties in support of the bill. I'll just remind members of the committee, when many of these prisons were cited in the 1980s and early 1990s, there was a lot of promises made by the state to counties and the businesses in those areas to provide goods and services, particularly to the Department of Corrections. We believe this bill continues that promise by giving the option, not the mandate, but the option to basically have local industry compete for these products and services. With that, we are in strong support, and hopefully the bill moves forward.
Very good. Any further testimony in favor? Is there any opposition testimony? Opposition, come on up.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members. Richard Wanacott with Prison Industry Authority. We're opposed to SB 1130 as amended. The bill could signal the potential loss of approximately 60% of our revenues, which estimated currently would be about $143 million through the loss of CDCR contracts. Institutions have delegated purchasing authority and would be lured by large corporations to purchase similar PIA goods, and this sets up internal conflict at CDCR. PIA program profits are plowed back into program, and CDCR does not fund our career technical education programs anymore. As such, these would be the first programs to go, and these programs have a 10% recidivism rate reduction. Additionally, we would be forced to reduce our other programs that support CDCR goods and services, which have at this time a 25% recidivism rate reduction. This would signal a significant program reduction. Finally, DGS would now be the purchasing agent, and not buying from PIA would mean CDCR would have to pay additional processing fees for each non-PIA purchase. This is both increased workload and cost. We urge a no vote on the bill. Thank you.
Senator Onnested, any comments?
I would just refer you to the committee analysis where it says in the unlikely loss of PIA contracts and possible reduction in PIA's workforce, it will be unlikely to increase inmates' incarceration time, and CDCR would not have to incur additional costs for either extended incarceration or new vocational programming in order to maximize those time credits. And also I'd like to add that Assemblymember West Chesborough is a co-author of this bill. I request your aye vote.
Thank you. And the analysis and in our discussions, if there are savings, and maybe the prison industry wants to respond to this, any diminution on the PIA side of the ledger would be a benefit to CDCR, would it not?
I believe so, ma'am. I'd need to get back to you on that.
Right. All righty. Senator Leno.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate the author's intent, Senator Onnested, where we can find savings as in prisons. As with the bill I just presented, I think it's worth consideration. But the unintended consequence of this is going to be that, as you just stated from the analysis, there is no requirement that the Department of Corrections then uses any of its savings to continue these programs. 6,900 inmates have benefited from this. We reduce recidivism. We're struggling so to reduce recidivism. These are good programs to help folks get a trade or some expertise, so when they're released, they've got a chance. So I think that this will have additional costs in out years because we will not see these released individuals succeed in their lives. They're going to commit more crimes. They'll be back, and we won't have that savings of the lower recidivism rate. So it does have unintended consequences, and that's the reason I won't be able to support the bill.
Senator Corbett, thank you. I'm sorry. Go right ahead.
Thank you. Senator Onnested, what is the premise or the reason why you feel this is necessary? I understand you talked about the cost savings, but what's your main premise?
The reason the bill was brought to me, or the idea came to our office, way up in Del Norte County, the most northwestern county in the state, Pelican Bay is there. And there is a local dairy there that has been supplying dairy products for many, many years. Because of the wording of the state law, which basically says the prisons shall contract with the prison industry authority, not may, as this bill changes the word, basically changes it from shall to may. Now the PIA has said, no, we're going to supply the dairy products from way down in the south and truck it twice a week, many hundreds of miles to Del Norte County, thereby, I believe, increasing costs because of the transportation costs, and also putting a significant number of people in a rural county out of work or out of business because of the damage it will do to the dairy industry, to the locals. When the prison came in, it was the contracts were signed with the locals. They believe that they can offer a competitive bid, and so they're happy with the language to not make it specific to any one prison or any one business. They think that they can compete by offering a fresh product every day rather than having it trucked many hundreds of miles twice a week. And PIA also will tell you that they can't supply the dairy products at a less costly rate unless they also combine it with the delivery of other products that are going up to the prison.
Okay.
That was the genesis of the bill.
Thank you, Senator Onnested. Members, just a comment. The analysis points out that the fiscal impacts are minimal because, for one thing, PI, the Prison Industry Association, has sometimes longer-term prisoners that are going to be there anyway, whether the program is working or not. But the objections about whether the Prison Industry Association is harmed by the bill or could be become a smaller program, those are real. So just for the sake of discussion, I acknowledge that this is about the fiscal issues, and the fiscal issues are a wash. There may be some savings there, and that would benefit CDCR. But if your concern is weakening the Prison Industry Authority and the number of slots they have inside the prison, I think that's probably valid. Any other comments? Senator Weiland?
Just real briefly, as someone who's very, very concerned about career technical education within prisons and seeing it devastated, I think a better way to go than the Prison Authority is to actually, and there are employers who have done this, to actually make partnerships with employers so that what they're learning is something that they can take to employers afterwards. And there are lots of employers, we did that, who would be willing to do that.
All righty. Any further comments? Senator Cox. Senator Cox moves the bill.
It's not as amended.
It is not amended, Senator Cox. It's a do pass. We'll call the roll.
Kehoe?
No.
Kehoe, no. Cox? Aye. Cox, aye. Alquist? Aye. Alquist, aye. Corbett? Denham? Aye. Denham, aye. Leno?
No.
Leno, no. Price? Walters?
Aye.
Walters, aye. Wolk? Wyland? Aye. Wyland, aye. Yee? No. Yee, no. 5-3, it's on call.
5-3, it's on call.
Thank you much.
Thank you, Senator Onnested. Senator Dutton, welcome. This is SB 1402 on Air Resources Board penalties, disclosure of information. And this is a do pass as amended, members.
Yeah, and Madam Chair and members, I am going to, we are accepting the committee recommendations on amendment, and also want to thank the committee staff for assisting to provide what I consider is a pretty common sense bill. This bill will improve communication between the California Air Resources Board and the parties it regulates. The bill basically would require CARB, when assessing penalties, to provide a clear explanation of how CARB determines the various penalty levels. It would also require CARB to develop a written penalty policy to ensure consistent treatment of all violations. CARB has been subject to, and sometimes could be perception rather than fact. This would hopefully eliminate perception of problems and actually create a little bit more credibility. These changes will help regulate the regulated parties to better understand CARB's penalty policies. This bill has received unanimous support in the Senate Environmental Quality Committee, and I am submitting it to you for your favorable consideration today. I have today with me John Dunlap, is representing the Californians for Enforcement Reform and Transparency. They're also known as CERT. Here, he'd like to say, speak about the bill.
Thank you.
Madam Chair and members, John Dunlap. I'm a former chairman of the Air Resources Board, as the Senator mentioned. I'm representing a group called CERT today, which is about 20 national and California-based trade associations that are diverse and have one thing in common. They'd like to see the transparency and consistency in the enforcement program relative to settlements. We believe the bill will improve transparency and consistency and will lead to quicker and more efficient compliance case settlements with nominal or no costs whatsoever.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next.
Madam Chair, Phil Vermeulen representing the engineering contractors in strong support.
Thank you. Next, please.
Madam Chair, Todd Bloomstein on behalf of the Southern California Contractors Association in support as well.
All righty. One more witness.
Margaret Gladstein on behalf of the California Retailers Association, also in support.
Thank you. Any other testimony in favor? Is there opposition testimony? Opposition to SB 1402? Seeing none, Senator Leno moves the bill as amended. It's a good bill, Senator Dutton. It's clear and transparent. That's good.
Thank you.
Without further comment, then we'll call the roll.
Kehoe?
Aye.
Kehoe, aye. Cox? Aye. Cox, aye. Alquist? Aye. Alquist, aye. Corbett? Aye. Corbett, aye. Denham? Aye. Denham, aye. Leno? Aye. Leno, aye. Price? Walters? Aye. Walters, aye. Wolk? Aye. Wolk, aye. Wyland? Aye. Wyland, aye. Yee? Yee, aye.
Are you ready?
10 to 0, it's out.
10 to 0, it's out.
Thank you, members.
Thank you, Senator Dutton. We'll take up Senator Wyland's item, bottom of page 1, SB 1278 on the adoption of instructional materials. And then Senator Yee will go to you next.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members. A simple little bill. The method which curriculum materials are modernized is that on a scheduled basis, a curriculum commission appointed by the state board and a few others appoints some experts, teachers mostly, to review curriculum and to create new frameworks. The standards remain the same, but it's a review that suggests other methods, perhaps, of teaching the same material. Typically, after those frameworks are adopted and there's a period of public review, final frameworks are presented to the Curriculum Commission. They are approved by the Board of Education, and textbook manufacturers then create textbooks that they submit to make sure they meet those standards and criteria, and they're adopted. What happened, unfortunately, last year is the minimal amount of money to complete the framework adoption process for history and social studies was interrupted because this small amount of money was taken out of the budget. It's so small that the department believes that in social studies it could be finished without any additional cost. The frameworks are finished. All that needs to happen is the public review needs to be completed. This bill includes a couple of other things that we intended to amend out, and there was an error in not amending them out. There's one section that lists a schedule for adoption in other areas. We take that out, and we're also willing to take out the portion that deals with adoption within 30 months after the approval of the frameworks. So though that would be a cost driver, I have a different view than finance about the costs, but I'm perfectly willing to take those out. This is important. The work's been done, and we ought to get on with it.
All right. Senator Wyland, if you are just completing the, Mr. Troy, what's the right language?
Frameworks.
The frameworks.
Yes, just the adoption.
Right.
Nothing else.
Yeah. Right, the cost would be minimal, but if you do that without adopting the material, then, how much progress are we really making? Maybe we This is an item for suspense. We could maybe work that out then. Take your witnesses now.
That's fine with me.
All right.
I would love to have the adoption process. That I think.
I think I need a little more clarity on how far you're going and where the costs start. So let's talk about that when we review suspense.
That's fine.
All right, we'll go to your witnesses then.
Madam Chair, Senators Fred Jones, we're the bill sponsors, California Council for the Social Studies. The frameworks is what the Curriculum Commission was in charge of. The instructional materials are adopted by the board. The state board still has their budget. The Curriculum Commission is what was blue penciled last year. And so all the work of the Curriculum Commission stopped, even though on our framework side of things, we are 9/10 of the way finished. So the senator and us simply want the Curriculum Commission to finish their public hearings on the finalized language for the framework adoption. At that point, it's up to the state board within their own existing budget to determine the instructional materials adoption timeline. So we just simply want the Curriculum Commission back to finish this work. Thank you.
Very good. Any additional testimony? My constituents are here from San Diego. Good to see you.
My name is Omkar Singh Bindra. I represent the Sikh community of Sacramento, and especially I'm on the committee of the Sikh Temple Sacramento. I have attended all the meetings relating to the framework for history and social sciences, and it is for the first time that this updated history social science curriculum will have anything at all about my community, which has been here for 110 years and which has significant contributions. As you know, one of our people was the first Asian American congressman, Mr. Dalip Singh Sand, from the Imperial Valley. And I very strongly recommend that this bill be approved as amended. That means we will not be talking about the instructional materials for now. We are talking only about the curriculum framework, and history, social science is 9/10 of the work is done, and the department has also told me several times that they can do it without any additional finances.
All right. That's what we'll have to clarify while it's on suspense.
Yeah, and I want to add one point.
Go right ahead.
That even if the books, even if there is no money during the next 2-3 years for adoption of new textbooks, what we can do is that this the framework will be on the website. Teachers who would like, teachers can be told that they can make use of this, and supplemental instructional materials are already available, or some others can be approved. And to get supplemental instructional materials approved, we do not need any government funds. That can even be done by non-profits, you see.
Very good. Thank you. Is there additional testimony in favor?
In favor.
You're in favor. Thank you. Anything further?
Well, my name is Akasha Kaur-Kulsa. I'm on the board of directors of Sikh Dharma of San Diego, and we stand in strong support.
Thank you very much. Good to see you.
Madam Chair and members, Monica Miller on behalf of the Jewish Public Affairs Committee of California in support, as well as the Institute for Curriculum Studies, which is our education arm. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Further testimony in favor?
Sherry Griffith with the Association of California School Administrators. Actually, we had an oppose on the measure, but with the author's amendments, we'll be removing our opposition. Thank you.
All righty. Is there any further testimony? Is there opposition testimony? Seeing none, then without objection, we'll move this item to suspense.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Weiland. And then Senator Yee, I think, would you like to take up SB 1451? All righty. And this is a due pass, members. And then, Senator Yee, you're also going to present for Senator Price?
That's correct.
Very good. So the license plate people, I hope, are still here. Oh, yeah, they're there.
Madam Chair and Senators, this is a pretty straightforward issue. As you may or may not know, Texas, with their department or their Board of Education, decided to change some of the framework within their State Department of Education. And of note are what I believe are rewriting of history, particularly looking at reducing the scope of the Latino history by downplaying the role of Cesar Chavez, by looking at the importance of the relationship between church and state on the different matters of law and education. A number of these kinds of issues, I think, raise some serious concern for me and sure for many other individuals. So what this bill does basically is to ask that our Department of Education, the State Board of Education, to look at the impact of those changes onto our framework as we move forward in looking at adopting new textbooks. And with that, I want to note that we are that costs will be minimum and covered by the statutory publisher fees. And with that, urge an aye vote.
And is there testimony in favor of SB 1451? Testimony in favor? Is there opposition testimony? Is there any opposition?
I move the bill.
Senator Leno moves the bill. If there's no comment from members, we'll call the roll on SB 1451. Please call the roll.
Kehoe?
Aye.
Kehoe, aye. Cox?
Yeah.
Cox, no. Alquist?
Aye.
Alquist, aye. Corbett? Aye. Corbett, aye. Denham?
No.
Denham, no. Leno?
Aye.
Leno, aye. Price? Walters?
No.
Walters, no. Wolk?
Aye.
Wolk, aye. Wyland? Yee?
Aye.
Yee, aye. 63.
6-3, Senator Yee. That bill is out. We have Senator Hancock still has an item that is a due pass if she's in the building. Now Senator Yee is going to take up Senator Price's item SB 1453 on digital electronic license plates, and then we will go to waive presentation, members, and try to get this all done before session.
Thank you very much, Madam President, and, Madam Chair, and Senators. This bill, SB 1453, is by Senator Price. What he is looking at doing is to authorize the Department of Motor Vehicles to investigate or to look at a pilot of a program in regards to using digital electronic technology for license plate. The amendment he is taking, which will then clarify that a private vendor shall pay for the costs associated with this legislation. With the increase in technology, this is an opportunity to look at it, not necessarily to adopt it totally, but rather to do a pilot to look at the efficacy of the particular technology in the use of license plate. And with that, urge an aye vote. And we have Michael Jordan with Smart Plate here to testify.
Good, very good, Senator Yee. Go right ahead to your witnesses.
Madam Chair and members of the committee, my name is Michael Jordan. I'm the CEO of Smart Plate, and we support the author's bill. Thank you.
All righty. Members, this is a due pass with amendments. If there is
Moved as amended.
Any questions from the committee? Seeing none, then we'll call the roll.
Kehoe?
Aye.
Kehoe, aye. Cox? Cox, aye. Alquist? Aye. Alquist, aye. Corbett? Denham? No. Denham, no. Leno?
Aye.
Leno, aye. Price? Walters? Aye. Walters, aye. Wolk?
Aye.
Wolk, aye. Wyland?
Aye.
Wyland, aye. Yee?
Aye.
Yee, aye.
Denham, no.
Denham, no to aye. 9-0.
9-0, that bill is out. Good job, Senator Yee.
Thank you.
Now, members, we'll go back up to the top of the file and take up those items there where presentation has been waived. If you're in the audience and you're interested in testifying on an item, the author will not be here, so just come on up when I call for you. SB 837 by Senator Flores, smart meters and privacy, electricity smart meters. Is there testimony in favor? Is there opposition testimony? Finance is not here today, so without objection, that goes to suspense. Senator Alquist has waived presentation on the California Health Benefits Exchange, SB 900. Is there testimony in favor? Go right ahead.
Beth Capel on behalf of Health Access California in support of the measure. Pleased to be working with the author on it. Thank you.
Very good. Any other testimony in favor of SB 900? Is there opposition testimony? Seeing none, without objection, this goes to suspense. Next is SB 988. SB 988 by Senator Huff. 5-year review and report on regulations. Is there testimony in favor? Is there opposition testimony on SB 988? Welcome.
Madam Chair, members, Justin Malone on behalf of the Union of Concerned Scientists. We apologize we didn't get a letter in on time, but we do have significant concerns with this bill. As your analysis reflects, it doesn't stipulate what regulations need to be reviewed. There can be scores, if not hundreds, of regulations done by these agencies, and we think it's an enormous cost. It does seem to be a real meat cleaver of an approach to deal with things that may be legitimate concerns with some programs and some elements of programs. So we urge you keep it in suspense. Thank you.
Thank you. Further testimony.
Madam Chair and members, Caitlin Vega for the California Labor Federation, also here in opposition. We think that this bill imposes significant costs both on the auditor's office and on every state agency that would be put in a position to have to engage in a prolonged back and forth with the auditor, and potentially creates a dynamic where duplicative regulatory processes have to be done to reenact regulations that sunset automatically under this bill. So we do hope it's held on suspense. Thank you.
All righty. Any further testimony in favor? Is there opposition testimony to SB 988? Seeing none, the item goes to suspense. Next is Senator Lowenthal, SB 996, the refund of property tax. And I know there's testimony on it. Now's your chance. This is SB 996. Testimony in favor? Opposition? Thank you for waiting.
Thank you. Madam Chair and members, Bill Cyberling representing the Board of Supervisors of Los Angeles County. They are opposed to SB 996. Prior legislation which granted a welfare exemption was not opposed by the county. This dealt with some housing parcels in the area of Long Beach. The issue here is first of all, our fiscal estimate is about $550,000 would have to be refunded to both to the taxpayers from both the county and school districts. The figure you have is slightly less, but it's roughly the same. The policy issue here is, as pointed out by the Senate Rev and Tax Committee analysis, most refunds are as a result of either administrative delays or administrative errors. What you're doing here is providing a refund prior to the granting of a welfare exemption. And in addition to this bill, we think future issues might ensue because other payments on welfare exemptions made prior to the exemption would be asking for a refund. Thank you.
Any other testimony on Senator Lowenthal's 996? Any other testimony? Seeing none, that item goes to suspense. All righty, we're still on waive presentation. We're at Senator Correa's item now, SB 1083 on licensure for health facilities. SB 1083, is there testimony in favor? Public testimony in favor? Public testimony opposed? All righty. Go right ahead.
Beth Capel, on behalf of the Service Employees International Union, we represent some of the workers in these facilities. We're opposed on policy grounds. In addition, we would commend to you your analysis, which indicates that there could be potentially millions of dollars in general fund cost. In addition to the costs identified in your analysis, which are associated with increased hospital reimbursement, we would note to the extent that we substitute CCS providers, that's California Children's Service providers, for pediatricians receiving the usual Medi-Cal rate, there would be increased cost as a result from that. It would be difficult to quantify, but would be significantly higher. Thank you.
All righty. Any other testimony on SB 1083, for or against? Any testimony? Seeing none, that item goes to suspense without objection. Next is Senator Liu's Education Governance, SB 1186. 1186. Testimony in favor. Welcome.
Thank you. Sherry Griffith with the Association of California School Administrators. We're in strong support.
Thank you. Any other testimony on SB 1186? Seeing none, that item goes to suspense. Next is Senator Price, Healthcare Coverage, SB 1088. Is there testimony in favor of 1088? Ms. Capel. Name
Your
that
most
tune.
frequent customer today, Beth Capel, on behalf of Health Access, in support of this measure.
Thank you. Next, please.
Michael Richard with AARP on behalf of our 3.1 million members in support.
Thank you. Any other testimony in favor of 1088, SB 1088? Is there opposition? Is there opposition? Seeing none, then that item goes to suspense as well. Next is Senator Strickland's Utility Service Master Meters. This is SB 1097. Testimony in favor? Opposition testimony. Welcome.
Hello, Alicia Priego with the Public Utilities Commission. Briefly, we are opposed to the measure. We're concerned about the third-party mediation, which is mandated on the purchase price of the mobile home park transfers. We believe this removes our ability to do a reasonableness review and possibly causes cost shifts to ratepayers.
All righty. Thank you. This is Senator Strickland's item. Any other testimony on SB 1097? Then, without objection, that will go to suspense. Next is Senator Oropeza's redevelopment plan amendment, SB 1112, 1112. Testimony in favor? Opposition? Come on up, SB 1112 by Senator Oropeza. Welcome.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members. Bill Seiberling, again representing the Board of Supervisors of Los Angeles County. As the bill has been amended, it now is restricted to one city, which would have a carve-out to avoid its low-income, moderate housing obligations. As your analysis indicates, this would provide a 10-year extension without any addressing the housing issues. About $83 million, $21 million of which would befall on the state to backfill its school obligations. The position of the board is AB 1290, which was enacted in 1993, was in itself a compromise with a whole melange of good things and bad things for counties and cities, depending on your perspective. But again, that was a compromise. We think this further tips the balance in favor of cities with regard to their housing obligations, and for that reason, the county would be opposed. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any other testimony on SB 1112 by Senator Oropeza? Any other testimony? Seeing none, the item goes to suspense. Senator Woke, Franchise Tax Board Administration. Is there testimony in favor of SB 1113? SB 1113. Is there opposition testimony? Come up. Mr. McKaylee. Mr.
Yes,
Davenport.
as the author knows, Madam Chair, the business community filed opposition on policy grounds in both rev and tax and judiciary. The Tech America, manufacturers, aerospace, Cal Chamber, Cal Tax et al. Are concerned, again, based upon policy grounds. I would note, as Mr. McKenzie's analysis states, that there's potentially considerable cost if the FTB files a number of these appeals. They've said in testimony that it would probably be less than 10 that they might file, but there's still considerable cost with the Attorney General representing the state of California. We don't believe that granting this additional authority is warranted. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, please.
Alan Davenport on behalf of Board of Equalization member Jerome Horton. Mr. Horton sent a lengthy letter on this to all of you, so I won't go into that. But as a policy matter, as a fiscal matter, we do agree with the concerns about the costs, additional costs to the state without additional benefit.
Thank you. Any further testimony on SB 1113? Any further testimony? Seeing none, the item goes to suspense without objection. Senator DeSaulniers' SB 1157, Healthy Schools Act of 2010. Is there testimony in favor of 1157. Is there opposition testimony? Seeing none, without objection, it goes to suspense. Senator Leno, health coverage denials, SB 1163. Testimony in favor. State your name.
Beth Capel on behalf of Health Access California. We're pleased to be here as the sponsors of this measure, in addition to the fee-supported general fund, fee-supported special fund costs that are identified in your analysis. We believe there is substantial general fund savings potential from insurers not being able to reducing denials of care that will dump under our high-risk pool. And we would also note, as your analysis does, that there are federal funds available for the rate review.
Very good. Next, please.
Randy Hicks of California Alliance for Retired Americans. For all the reasons Ms. Capel has stated, we are in support.
Thank you, Mr. Hicks. Any further testimony on SB 1163? Either way, pro or con? Seeing none, without objection, it goes to suspense. Next item is SB 1200, also by Senator Leno. Timeliness of care and your health coverage. Is there testimony on that?
Beth Capel on behalf of Health Access in support of the measure.
Any further testimony for or against SB 1200? Seeing none, that item goes to suspense. Next is Senator Cedillo, SB 1181, shorthand reporters. Testimony in favor or against SB 1181? Seeing none, that item goes to suspense without objection. Senator Hancock, then we'll move those two items to next week's agenda. We have one item on call, members, and we have one item that's vote only. If you look at your agenda, Senator Huff's SB 1198, State Energy Resources Regulation. Are people prepared to vote? Okay. This is a due pass with the motion by Senator Denham. And when you're ready, you may call the roll.
Kehoe?
No.
Kehoe, no. Cox? Aye. Cox, aye. Alquist? Alquist, no. Corbett? No. Corbett, no. Denham? Aye. Denham, aye. Leno? No. Leno, no. Price? Walters? Aye. Walters, aye. Wolk? Aye. Wolk, aye. Wyland? Aye. Wyland, aye. Yee? Yee, aye. 6-4.
It's out. 6-4, members. That bill is out. And what do we have remaining now?
Madam Chair, I have a quick question on the bill that's on call.
Yes. Then the on-call is Senator Onnested. That's SB 1130. Senator Corbett?
Yes, SB 1130. If the bill does not make it out of committee today, I'm assuming it will be granted reconsideration?
You are correct.
Okay. I'm hoping there might be an opportunity to maybe work on narrowing the bill.
We have another hearing scheduled for next Monday, and then we have suspense calendar on the 27th.
Okay, very good.
We still have a little time. So this item is on call. This is SB 1130. Let's call the absent members, please.
Corbett?
Is there somebody? Oh, that's something else. Okay. Let's call the absent members on 1130.
Corbett? Price? Wolk? So it's 5-4.
It's 5-4. That item then fails, correct?
Yes, reconsideration.
And we can grant reconsideration, take it up on the next calendar. Here's Senator Hancock. Senator Hancock, you have two items. One is suspense, one is due pass. What is your pleasure, madam? Welcome.
Thank you all. Good morning. Good afternoon, I guess.
All righty. Do you want to take?
I did want to just very briefly present on instant runoff voting. Because
all righty. Go right ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chairman. SB 1346 would give California counties the option of using instant runoff voting in special elections to fill vacancies. Counties must receive an approved IRV implementation plan, including a voter education plan from the Secretary of State before a vacancy occurs. In other words, counties can discuss it, can see if they want to set up a system, and send it to the Secretary of State for approval. This could save up to $3 million per special election. Some of the recent legislative seats previously held by Mike Duvall, Paul Krikorian, John Benoit, and Abel Maldonado became vacant this year, and it will cost taxpayers more than $10 million to run those runoff elections. This is purely permissive. Will allow the counties that want to. We actually think that not more than 3 or 4 will even be eligible to do so if they choose to do so.
All righty. Senator Hancock, do you have a witness here?
Witness.
Hi, Gautam Dutta, New America Foundation. We're proud to be sponsors of the bill. And to keep it short, the senators mentioned the cost benefits of it. On the fiscal note, we would strongly urge that the bill not be moved to suspense because we do not believe it will exceed the $50,000 threshold. As the senator mentioned, only 3 to 4 counties would probably be eligible for this. And what's more, there were some issues about how counties would do it for a multi-county election. The truth is that you would need a unanimous consent from all 5 counties to do it. So it's unlikely to happen because there are a lot of administrative and logistical things to work out. We just wanted to make sure that the option was there, but the truth of the matter is it would likely not be used for multi-county elections, and
Alrighty.
that makes sense.
Alrighty. Is there any other testimony in favor? Is there opposition testimony? Come on up. Come on up.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Rhonda Pascal on behalf of Secretary of State Deborah Bowen, who has not taken a position on this measure but has expressed some concerns with the current version of the bill. The Secretary is supportive of the concept of instant runoff voting and certainly appreciates the Senator's amendments that she's taken to date to address some of the previous issues that the Secretary has brought forward. However, she continues to have both policy and fiscal concerns on the current version of the bill. In particular, there is a concern that due to the expedited schedule for special elections might limit the ability to have an effective voter education, public education campaign for the instant runoff voting elections. And additionally, I just want to make the point that the bill in its current version does allow for these IRV elections to be conducted in multi-county jurisdictions, and that will result in a significant impact to the Secretary of State's office to review the source code necessary to be able to tally votes in those particular circumstances.
You have a cost of approximately $100,000 per plan in the Secretary of State's office?
That is correct for the multi-county jurisdictions, particularly those that might in fact be using different voting systems, which the current version of the bill does not preclude, would in fact require review and testing of code to allow for vote tabulations with different voting systems in those multi-county jurisdictions.
I think we'd like we will send it to suspense, but we'd like to look at that figure there. Senator Yee, question or comment?
Just a comment. I am clearly supportive, I think, of the instant runoff. I think it's an efficient way of getting election results. Does save a lot of money, but I would say that if this ever gets out, and if I'm going to vote for it, I need to know what exactly is the educational program for instant runoff. When you have minorities, in particular language minorities, who are just coming into the fold now of understanding that they have a responsibility to vote. It is extremely complex. A lot of the information about voting now is not in individuals' primary language, so they're at a loss. It took quite a bit of time for many individuals in San Francisco who are language minority to really fully understand that there was a shift. What exactly is instant runoff? I would dare say that if you go to San Francisco now and you ask English-speaking voters what exactly is instant runoff and how does it work, I would say that a lot of them would not even understand that. So it is not something that we just rush into. You've got to have a strong, robust information and educational program to back up that particular, or you're going to really disenfranchise a lot of individuals.
We are...
Senator Hancock, I think there's a couple comments, and then you can respond. Senator Leno. Thank you, Senator Yee.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just wanted to say a few words on behalf of instant runoff. Senator Yee's accurate in the comment that most voters don't know how it works, but they know how they need to participate in it. And it is really as easy as 1, 2, 3. And whereas we had concerns in San Francisco that less proficient English-speaking communities would be confused by it, the numbers don't show that to be the case. In fact, it's actually been very successful. It not only saves the money, but it also allows for greater participation in the democratic process, because some of these special elections have as low as an 8 or a 10% turnout. We want people to vote, and when there is just one ballot with instant runoff, we see 50, 60% participation. So that's good for democracy as well.
Very good. Thank you, Senator Leno. This is going to suspense. Any final comments, Senator Hancock?
I appreciate the policy thoughts of both of you, really, and we're very cognizant of the need for education. We're going to be working some more with places like Boulder County in Colorado, which have gone to instant runoff for everything, to try to make sure that everyone is included. The translations are going to be very important. And we know that. It just does appear that this is a way when so many lower income and minority people do not go back for the second election, that we can really make sure their votes are counted and their voices are heard. In addition to
Senator
the
Hancock,
financial aspect.
Still another item to present. SB 1346 goes to suspense without objection, and now you need to take up a SB 1380 on school facilities construction.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome, and this is a due pass, members.
Kehoe. SB 1380 would require, it's really a kind of cleanup for some aspects of career technical education and how we spend our bond money on that, would require that as a condition of receipt of funds for CTE grants, districts would commit to using the facilities for career technical education for 25 years. It's the same amount of time that we ask them to commit to using portable classrooms when we buy new portable classrooms, and it would indicate a long-term commitment to career technical education. It also allows up to 10% of the funds to be used for equipment that has less than a 10-year shelf life. Right now, you can't use it for that kind of equipment, but much state-of-the-art biotechnology, automotive, what have you, equipment actually will need to be replaced in about 5 years, both because of wear and tear and because of new technology. With me today are Fred Jones from the California Business Education Association. We have a great deal of support, no opposition.
Good. Let's hear from your witness. Go right ahead.
Hi, Fred Jones, California Business Education Association, also a founding member of the Get Real Coalition, which is chaired by business and labor, including the Manufacturers Association and the State Building Construction Trade Council, and also on behalf of Dave Walrath, who could not be here, from Small Schools Districts, all in support. Thank you.
Very good. Again, this is a due pass, members. Senator Alquist moves the bill. Without further discussion, then I'll call the roll.
Kehoe?
Aye.
Kehoe, aye. Cox? Aye. Cox, aye. Alquist? Aye. Alquist, aye. Corbett? Aye. Corbett, aye. Denham? Aye. Denham, aye. Leno? Aye. Leno, aye. Price? Walters? Aye. Walters, aye. Wolk? Aye. Wolk, aye. Wyland? Aye. Wyland, aye. Yee? Aye. Yee, aye. 10-0.
10-0. That bill is out. Thank you, Senator Hancock. Thank you, members. Meeting's adjourned. Thank you, as always.